podcast hosted by me, Demi Burnett. I was recently diagnosed with autism and have been sober for 8 months. Talk about a double whammy, but in a very good way. It's like I've finally come home. I hope this podcast will help other people feel like they can come home too. On DemiGoddess, I break down stereotypes and give you my unfiltered hot takes on everything, whether it's celebrity drama, dating bullshit, or whatever is currently petting my peeves. Plus, I chat with some amazing guests. Today, I'm talking to another autistic reality TV star, Niall Aslam. Niall was on season 4 of Love Island UK, and no, it was not a fun island holiday for him. Just wait. We get into it. DemiGoddess is available on all podcast platforms, or you can watch this full episode on our Eve YouTube channel. I look so good on it. So rate, review, and subscribe. Okay, it's time to start the show. I'm here with my producer, Clementine. Make sure you're holding on because there is a lot I have to tell you.
Hi, Demi. It's good to see you.
Shut your pie hole. Hi, Clementine. It's so good to see you. Congratulations.
Thank you. I just got diagnosed with autism on Friday.
Oh my God.
It's from the same neuropsychologist as Demi, and it's amazing. I feel so relieved. It feels like it's answering so many questions. It's a lot of information to take in.
Yeah, I saw it put this way, and I couldn't agree more, that a late autism diagnosis is traumatizing.
Yes.
Traumatizing. Right now, I'm at the state of all I got was a lousy fucking label, and nothing else has changed. I just was speaking with my assistants, and I was like, I need a therapist for autism. Like, what are we doing, guys? Ah! And they were like, okay, we'll call someone. It's okay.
Yeah.
I was like, thank you.
And I don't know if you found this, but Googling anything about autism, I have to include like autism, adult, or like just got diagnosed, adult, or like adult woman. Because whenever I put into Google, like just got diagnosed with autism, because I went to images basically because I wanted to find some cool infographics to put on my Instagram story. And I ended up just asking Demi if I could use some of hers, because when I Googled it, there was like all these photos, stock photos of like moms crying because they were like so devastated that their kid was going to be fucked up forever with this like debilitating disorder. And yes, there are people with autism who struggle with different parts of the spectrum than I do. For example, they, maybe they have mutism, or making eye contact is really hard, or just being around other people just sucks to them and they don't want to they can't do it, or sensory issues like can't touch wool, let's say, etc. But even for those people, it's so dismissive and horrible to even the people who struggle the most with autism, who are the most reliant on external support, to have all the results on the internet be that it's like this devastating news is really cruel to that kid.
Parents are fucking crying over it.
Yeah, it's cruel for the kid.
Yeah, I'm like, and people will still tell me on my Instagram, they will say like, being a parent and getting the news that your child's autistic can be really hard, and I'm like, suck it the fuck up. It's not hard on you. Like, you have no idea what it's like. You know what? Actually, most of the time, the parent ends up being autistic as well.
Yeah, because it's genetic. It's like...
Yeah. So it's like you could benefit from this, too. Like, there's nothing bad about it. What's bad about it is the stigma and the stereotype that have made this world and made it so challenging to be autistic in this world. That is what is bad about it.
So what you said about looking at everything through an autistic lens about your life, I thought that doing this, like, where's the camera? Like putting my nails under my other nails.
In my evaluation, it says that I like to do it.
Yeah, mine too.
It's such a woman's stem.
And it's one of the reasons I like having fake nails, because I can push.
It's the best feeling.
I can really do it.
I do it through the gloves. I do this constantly. Right now, I'm missing this middle fingernail, so it makes me mad. I can't get under the thumb good.
It doesn't even feel amazing. It's just a feeling that is nice. And I like it.
Everything I need, though. Like, if I couldn't do it, I don't know what would happen.
Yeah, it's like when I'm skiing and I'm in my gloves, I'm like, oh, I wish I could.
Oh my God, that's why I don't like holding things.
Yeah.
Because I can't do that. And I do this, I'm constantly doing. Oh my gosh, I always say I hate having my hands occupied. It's because I can't do the thing.
Stim. When I was doing the evaluation with our neuropsychologist, she was like, let me see your hands. while we're talking, basically. And so I put my elbows up on the desk and I was like doing this the whole time. And then I would like do it with the other hand and blah, blah, blah. And she was like, okay, that's a pretty normal stim for autistic women.
It's
and
because
I was like,
it's inoffensive.
And I was like, stimming? I was like, I've been stimming the whole time.
Literally our
That's
whole
what I was
lives,
doing.
and we didn't even know
And
it.
then, like, I thought,
I do it too with my feet.
What?
I have flexed feet. My feet are flexed.
I rub like one foot on top of the other foot, like
Yes.
all the time to comfort myself.
Yes, it's because we're women and we have to do it in subtle ways that are not disruptive.
Yeah.
That's what I've discovered. That's
Yeah.
what I think it is. Subconsciously, like we're self-soothing, baby. And we got to do it in a way where no one can notice.
Exactly.
Because if we got to be good girls.
Gotta be good girls. Can't act out.
I've also noticed, with all of this stimming, that I have other sensory needs that I never knew I had because my needs were not important. I didn't dare complain, but I became very, very irritable growing up. And I never knew why. And even as an adult, I can be with my friends and I'm so irritable and I'm just snappy and a bitch. Like just thought that's who I was. I was like, I hate this part about myself. And then my friend,
It turns out.
I was being tortured by the sound in this world. That's why I was irritable, was because noises, loud sounds, it physically hurts me. Like a very loud sound is like, "Gah!" Like someone just stabbed me in the chest.
But for me, it's like I can feel like the top of my head and then my back, And it's like dropping a pan on the floor and the clang. I would say, ow. And I was like,
throw up.
Am I just saying ow because like it nearly hit my foot? And it was like, no, I'm saying ow because the sound actually hurt. But I didn't realize that sound could hurt unless
How many
it was
times
like,
have you like made fun of yourself? You're like, I don't know why I said ow.
right? So many times.
I must just be a fucking idiot. That's what I just assumed.
Yeah.
No, I said ow because it did hurt. It hurt me inside. It hurt everything. And it made me very, very slightly mad. Like every time it was making me on edge and internalizing it. So I internalize all that pain and anxiety that I'm getting from all the loud sounds. And then people start talking to me as I'm also hearing all of these other sounds. So I'm like, what? And I'm just trying to subconsciously get them to shut the fuck up. So I'm being curt. So then one day I put on a pair of noise canceling headphones. And I said, let me just see what this is all about, because I don't even know if I have, auditory issues, sensory sensitivities in my ears. I don't know. I've never been aware of that. No one's ever told me that. And I went to the mailroom in my noise canceling headphones. It's like I can reflect back on this in slow motion. I dropped the packages on accident and I winced inward, like curled inward, and like was shying away from the drop. And then I realized nothing happened because I had noise canceling headphones on, and I realized I was wincing from the sound of the drop of the package, but since I didn't hear it, there was no pain. And then I was like, holy fucking shit, this is life-changing. So then I started, whenever I would go on walks with Sandor, I put my noise canceling headphones on. Next thing you know, who's talking to the neighbors? Demi's talking to the neighbors. Demi said, good morning. I don't say good morning, but I can do that because I can't hear whatever the fuck they say back. And if I don't have my noise canceling headphones on, all I'm doing is I'm looking like a total cunt.
Like there was this really cool art gallery going on, or art show called Cat Being Circus in Echo Park. And I went with my friend Poppy, and it was really cool. And the art was really awesome, but it was in a like low ceiling, concrete floor, plaster walled, cube shaped room. The sound was just bouncing all around and it was really loud. And it was also really bright lights. And so I had a really hard time keeping track of what my friend was saying and just being in a positive mood. And so I was kind of like, hey, once you get your fill of the art, I would love to leave.
Whenever I was at the after the final Rose show, I was cold. And like whenever I'm cold, I'm miserably cold. Like I can't think about anything else. I hate it so much. Like I will wear a jacket. Well, I couldn't wear a jacket because I had on a gown, like a dress, and I was in the audience. So I called the producers over and I said, hey, I'm going to head out. I'm pretty cold. And you know what happened? They scurried on over with the freaking wardrobe people and gave me a jacket that matched my outfit and shit to keep me there. But I was like, wow, that was a boundary that I set. And like, it was I wasn't doing it in a way to get that jacket. I didn't know they had jackets back there.
Yeah.
I was literally saying facts on facts. I'm leaving this joint because I'm cold and I'm not going to suffer anymore.
That's not fair anymore.
Because what happens is it just gets internalized and you don't know that it's happening at the time. So it's getting taken out later. You're having a meltdown later.
Yeah.
Pretty toxic. So noise canceling headphones.
Those are amazing.
Yeah.
And you know what else is amazing? Is it cake?
That show.
I think you could be on that show. You're such a good baker.
I think that I could be on that show too, just because I have such a, I'm so good at recreating something, seeing something and being able to redo it. But it's the time. It's like, I would need more time. Like I would need about 8 hours, I think double the time, because I'm going to need a little couple of fuck ups in between.
Yeah.
I have to always have Great British Bake Off on. And I always say I would never be able to be on that show because I would have the biggest meltdown or temper tantrum. Like, I don't even know what it would be. But that amount of anxiety and pressure in that show, and especially when it's all in, the fate is in my hands. If I fuck up, it's on me. Yeah. Like, I'm getting really antsy right now thinking about it, like worked up about how big of a freak out I would have.
Oh, no, thank you.
Like, people would be like, oh my God, like she needs help. Like, she should have never gone on the show. And I'd be like, yeah, probably not, because I'm setting myself up at that point. Like, wow. But I love watching it because I love the baked goods. But so the Is It Cake thing, it's the best part about Is It Cake is the host, hands down, because he's so awful and so obnoxious. But like, and everyone you can tell in the room is like so uncomfortable, but he doesn't let up. Like he keeps going. He sticks to the bit. And I think that it's so impressive. I think that he's so purposefully or intentionally annoying and he never stops. And I think he's a great actor for it.
So listeners, if you look at the bottom left corner of this screen, you can see the cover photo. And when we were going to do the photo shoot for that photo, Demi brought me cake, a beautiful, beautiful cake. And I put it on my counter and I put it to the back of the counter.
It was chocolate cake with white icing.
And
it was all homemade.
Don't make me cry. And we came back from the photo shoot and I was like, I'm going to have some cake. And did I get to have any cake? No. Who had some cake? My cat, Mowgli, the little demon shit. The cake box was on the ground in the middle of my kitchen, torn open like a pack of raccoons had gotten into it. And there was just cake strewn about my entire apartment. And Mowgli had icing on his whiskers like a little shit. And he's looking at me like, I just ate a bunch of chocolate cake. And he was fine. I called the vet and they were like, just monitor him. He's probably fine. He was fine. But what a little shit.
That would be so cute, though. Frosting on the whiskers.
I know. He's a good boy, but he's not a good boy, but he is.
Well, that's enough of shut your pie hole. I'm going to go bake a pie. Who do I think I am? Amanda Bynes? This is the Amanda Show. Guys, we need to make this
Amanda.
Where's Amanda?
Show.
I must find Amanda, please. Good morning, Niall.
Morning, Demi. How is everyone?
Oh, so good. That's such a nice accent to hear in the morning.
Appreciate that.
Clement, no one has any idea. We have the tea. All right. So, Niall, how did we meet?
Well, you DM'd me.
Oh, I slid in the DMs. I did.
And basically, you saw me on, was it X on the Peak or something before?
Yes, I saw you on Love Island and on X on the Beach.
And I was like collecting bugs on X on the Peak, and then you asked me, are you autistic? And then I was like, yeah, and then you said you were too, and then we got talking from there, and then, one thing led to another, and, came to visit in the States.
Yeah, so someone DM'd me, and they were like, they sent me your profile and they said, I'm surprised you guys aren't following each other. And then I was like, who is this? And I was like, oh my God, it's the bug boy. The bug boy from from X on the Beach, who was also from Love Island. So yeah, I slid in the DMs and then you came out here to visit me. Like, very soon after too.
Yeah, it was soon.
We were so wild for that. But
Yeah,
like,
we were wild for that.
honestly, I have no regret about it.
No regret. I feel
Yeah.
like I've been having a good time.
Yeah.
Enjoying myself, yeah.
Yeah, you're really funny.
Oh, I appreciate that. You too.
Oh, thank you. So Niall came out here to visit me, and Niall, why don't you tell them what happened yesterday?
Oh, yesterday. So basically, I feel like we had kind of in a way too much in common in the sense of like we obviously had, I guess in a romantic kind of sense. In that way, it was just too much in common with how we were and things like that. So we had a mature conversation about that where, I think we're good friends and things like that. And, gained a friend, which is good stuff, isn't it?
I felt awkward because I was like, me and him are both so autistic in our own way of like, we both like it our way. And we both need someone who is like, what were we saying? Like, maybe we need someone neurotypical. Like, we don't even know. But the fact that you came to me and you were just like, hey, you keep in mind, like, this man is staying at my house. Like, he has nowhere else to stay. He's staying with me.
It was a risk,
It was a risk.
It was a risk.
And he was like, are you not feeling this like romantically? And I was like, I like couldn't even talk still because I was just like so uncomfortable because we both didn't want to hurt each other's feelings.
Yeah, no. I just find doing that kind of thing awkward anyway. Like, just like, just in a sense of going up to someone and being like, hey, you know how you think this is going? Like, how do you think this is going? Yeah. And then it was just kind of building myself up to do that was, had a little pep talk and then...
He pulled me for a fucking chat. He did. But it was really good because then it was like, okay, we both feel the same way. Pressure's off.
Yeah, it's like a lot of pressure off.
Yeah. And like, we can like coexist.
Yeah.
Yeah. And be friends.
Yes.
Yeah. So I thought that's really cool and mature of us. And also like, I'm so obsessed with you. And I think that you're one of the coolest and most interesting people I know.
Appreciate that. You too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good stuff.
So he came to America to see me, and then what's the best part, my dog?
Sandor, yeah. Great stuff. Absolutely. Probably the best dog I've met, to be fair. In terms of like a chow, great,
That's what I love to hear. Like, that's why I got Sandor, a chow, the most regal dog I could think of, just so people could say, this is the best dog I've ever met.
Second best dog I've ever met.
My
first dog I ever had, was a family dog, Rex,
I keep hearing about Rexy.
He was, he didn't smell well. A family found him on the street, took him in. I'm sure if it was a beauty pageant, Sandor would have, hands down beat him. But man. Rex, it was on the inside. Will that count with that?
I've seen this episode of Rick and Morty that I really loved, where the dogs got smart, like they got a intelligence AI stuff. Like, I don't know. I don't remember. There was like some kind of invention that they gave the dogs, and the dogs started talking. And the first thing he did, he went up to them and he said, "Where are my testicles, Summer?"
Oh, okay. Yeah. So that's what I mean. That must be just a wild ride. That, no say in it.
Sandor really had no say in whether or not he had his balls taken from him. And I know that you haven't had a say in some things that have happened to you, specifically in your time on television. When you told me the story, like, I could not believe it. It's so incredibly fucked up. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, it's an injustice that will never sit well with me. And I think that like won't sit well with a lot of people. So I wanted to give you a chance to tell your story.
Appreciate that.
Yeah. So where did it all begin? So
at the beginning, if we're going way back to the start of like my Love Island journey, originally how I ended up on Love Island, there's a show in the UK called First Date, right? It's a very kind of casual. You sit down and go on a single date with someone. It's not a big show, but it was kind of funny, So I was on Xbox with my mate. I think we were playing Call of Duty at the time or something, and I said, "Oh, should we apply for First Dates?" as a joke. A joke as in like it would be funny if it came back, but it's not. You're not going to change your life by going on first dates. I got a call literally the next day. Like, do you want to come down to London to go on an interview for first dates. I go on it. I come out with some, just what at the time I thought were just kind of normal things that people talk about, when it comes to dating. I was showing them my Harry Potter tattoos. I was talking about, I guess, well, not nerdy things, but maybe some people might call that, nerdy, what I was talking about. And I guess I did well in the interview because in TV, people don't realise that people work like for one channel for like 3 months and another one, they'll like rotate. And what happened was they put
like the producers.
Just like
they
casters,
rotate to
producers.
Different. I see. Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
what you
they
mean.
like rotate, don't they? And they were like, "Listen, we've got a lad over here that'd be really good on like Love Island." And then they then called me up and like, "Oh, Niall, would you be interested in like auditioning for like Love Island?" Yeah, and I was like, "Well, all right then." Like, I did, in my head, I thought that, well, there's no chance I'm going to get on Love Island, but I'll go. So I didn't have any kind of like expectation. So I go on to the first interview, just chat absolute nonsense for like an hour. No expectation of it. I remember when I left, I was like, "Oh, thanks for that." I was like, he was like, "Oh no, you should be proud that you made it this far." And I was like, "What do you mean made it this far?" And he was like, "Not a lot of people get to this stage." I was like, "Well, how many people are in this process?" Because I thought there's like probably 100,000 right now. He was like, "Oh no, there's 1,000 left." And I was like, "What do you mean there's 1,000 left?" He's like, "Oh yeah, then it gets whittled down to 100 or something." So I left there, literally within like a day, it was like, "Oh, you're into the last round thing." And I was like, then it became like a lot more like, "Oh, okay, this is
real."
Yeah, this is real. Ended up going in.
It's so exciting. I remember like getting casted for The Bachelor and like the very end of it, like the final weekend. I remember casting weekend. It was like down to 50 people, and it was so exciting.
It was wild. And then they did the last one. They called me up and was like, "Oh, I was one of the first ones to know." They were like, "Oh, we imagine you like coming down the beach as one of the originals straight away." And I was like, and then what was hard for me then was, it was that feeling of, "Oh, okay, now what?" Like, just, it was a lot to, I was getting put in like Love Island group chats from people, and I knew I was on the show, and it was just like, it was a lot. But, so in terms of what eventually went wrong with what happened to me, you have like a call with a psychologist and things like that. So
that like work while you're
on the show.
While you're on the show, yeah, they have because people don't know that weren't on TV. There's this therapist, psychologists that work on reality TV shows that for my show, they help you after the show as well. During the show, after the show, you can talk to them whenever you want. They are there to help the cast. That's what they're supposed to do.
So basically, so I had a FaceTime beforehand, before the show, like as the process was going on, and I disclosed like I was diagnosed with autism. Also before the show, you do like a mental. Yeah. They do like you talk to a psychologist about all of your mental history and all that stuff. Yeah, we did that too. And they get your whole medical records from like your doctors. So just so people are aware, it wasn't like I was hiding the fact. Like, it was aware. I disclosed it to producer and to a medical professional. So I mean, I couldn't have done any more in that sense of like people being aware of the fact. Unless I wanted to, just go around with a t-shirt on saying I'm autistic. You know what I mean? I made the relevant people known.
You did what you were supposed to do.
Yeah, exactly. Because I get like a lot of people like gaslit sometimes, I guess, in a way where it's like you knew what you were getting in for, and
oh my gosh, I know, you knew what you signed up for,
and this.
That does not apply to you, for the record.
That's what I mean. It's like, well, you knew what I signed up to have a psychotic episode on TV, and have like a mental illness or go in a psychiatric ward. And I did not sign up for that because when I honestly, and people might say it's naive, when I went step foot onto like that villa, I honestly believed it was just do whatever you want. It was just like, I watched that with my mum before, and I thought, go on, be myself. Everyone kept telling me in the audition processes, it was like, be yourself, be yourself, be yourself. You're funny, be yourself. I was like, oh, okay, I'll be myself. And then it was all like, oh, okay, well, don't do that, don't do this, can't talk to her, stop tone yourself down, things like that. And, you know,
it's confusing because it's like gaslighting you.
It was just like, oh, I'm just trying to be me. I was like, this is what I told, like, I've told you I'm going to be myself. You wanted me to be myself, but then you're like telling me not to do this. Obviously the stress of that was a lot. Being autistic as well in like an unfamiliar environment, and then not being, because I've mentally prepared myself for something that it wasn't. So that was a lot of stress for me, because it wasn't, if it was just do what you want and what I prepared myself for, I would have been okay, because I'd be like, oh, I've prepared myself for that. You know, it's like, I don't know, preparing for a wrestling match in the WWE and then having a boxing match with Mike Tyson. Do you know, you can't prepare. So it's like, that was stressing me out a lot. I asked for support in the sense of, I was like, oh, can I have like a timeout, so like music to like help me with, you know, the stress? And they're like, no, you can't. I think
that's like depriving you of self-soothing.
Yeah. So one guy played a Les Miserables song to me on his phone one time, and then he acted like he literally gave me the world and the stars.
Oh my God.
I was like, so I basically, I mean, other people have came out and said that I was doing this as well. I started segregating myself from the other people, the group. So I started to go on like a balcony to like get away from the group, because as well at the time I told them I only eat plain food. That's one of like my dietary requirements. I only eat like I have a very childlike palate in a sense. I eat like chicken nuggets, fish fingers, waffles. You know, I wasn't being a picky eater. I was just asking for, you know, like the bare minimum. And they didn't have that in for like 4 or 5 days, so I lost a lot of weight. Couldn't sleep because everyone was like snoring next to me. People are like, oh, you sign up for. I'm like, I was asking for minimal adjustments.
Yeah, and they didn't take you seriously, your sensory needs too seriously.
No, that's the thing. And as well, like, listen, you know, they haven't outright said it, but the show like, you know, casting someone with autism without doing a disability assessment to then have them go into psychosis in a psychiatric hospital within 2 weeks is probably not the best look, and probably not something that you know, they'll do statements, and it's always like they'll never deny what happened, but they'll be like, they always say we respected Niall's wishes and feelings at the time, but how can you respect someone's wishes and feelings who's clinically insane?
How did it escalate to there? So how did it go? Okay, so take me to where you're at the point right now where you're starting to isolate yourself from the group. So
I've isolated myself from the group, and basically I started to use coping mechanisms. So I tried to like talk to myself. That's what, like, I was talking to myself, like trying to just get out of my own head with how much
self-soothing.
Yeah, but you got to think from their perspective. They're looking in now and they're seeing, you know, one of their contestants is talking to himself on a balcony. They're like, oh wow, this don't look great. So what they did,
and it's if they knew anything about autism, they would know how common that is. Like, I talk to myself all the time.
Yes, for me it was hard because it's like I was trying to have. There was no way I could escape this like environment, this fake environment that I didn't want to be in.
What was so fake about it?
It was just, for me, it's more. You might say it's naive. I just genuinely thought I could, you know. I remember talking to one girl, they're like, you can't talk to her. And I was like, what do you mean? They were like, oh no, because basically what I didn't realise, obviously they've got in the back a little plan of like how they want this to kind of play out. And I'm quite an unpredictable character, you know, like I remember one time they were like, oh, see, because they're like, who are you going to couple up with? Like, because they pulled me to a side, like, who are you going to pick? And I was like, I don't know, I might just do eeny, meeny, miny, mo and just see what happens, you know. They couldn't predict, you know, what I was going to do, which if they told me these things beforehand, other than be yourself, I would, you know.
If they would have like let you in on what they wanted.
If they let me in on it, it would have been like, I would have been able to mentally prepare myself.
Exactly, and it wouldn't have put you in, it wouldn't have stressed you out like so much, I guess.
No, because I would have been, you know, mentally prepared for that. I ended up, so I'm talking to myself, I'm crazy stressed, I'm not eating, not sleeping, and they decide to put me in a car without telling me where I'm going. A van, it was, and was it a van or a car? It was like a pickup truck, I think, looking back now. and drive me to a doctor in Spain.
What kind of doctor?
I don't even really. It was just a doctor. No one told me where I was going. They just pulled me into a room and were like, "Do you trust us, Niall? Do you trust us?" And
No.
I swear. They're like, it's the thing is, it's right. It was such a weird story that it kind of like. It don't even sound real, but it's kind of, when I look back on it, at the time it seemed normal. But I know what you mean. When I say it back, it just sounds so weird. They pull me into a room with one producer, like, "Do you trust us? Do you trust us?" They're like all these snacks out for me, which they could have got me beforehand.
Yeah.
So I was like, "Okay, you got me snacks now." I was like, "Oh, cheers, I'm eating these snacks," because obviously they're
wow, that's so manipulative.
Yeah, so I had some like snacks and a little drink of water it was at the time, and then these others came in like, "Come with us now, Niall." They are going to this car and they drive me to the doctor in Spain. This is when my brain hit an overload, because in my head, I've gone from being, just student to now I'm in the starting lineup of Love Island to now in a car, and I don't know where I'm going with like these producers.
In a different country.
That basically go to the doctors, and he was that is. But I feel like that's where I went into psychosis, which is psychosis is where your brain hits a level of like, it could be due like mental illness, stress. There's different reasons it can happen. But for me, it was stress, where your brain hits an overload and you don't know what's real anymore. Like, people have, in extreme cases, like thought they could fly and jumped off buildings, and you correlate the world in an unsafe way. Like, I thought, I could change the weather, loads of different things. Like, it sounds embarrassing to say, but that just is, it's just a symptom of mental illness.
It's not embarrassing, but I know why you feel that way.
Exactly, yeah. So that's when my brain went into...
And you've never had anything like that before?
No, this is what I mean. Everyone, like, don't get it wrong, I get a lot of support with it, right? But I get people that it's like they want every avenue to kind of discredit what happened to me, because it's like, you knew what you signed up for. How can I know what I signed up for that when I've never been on something? I thought it was real. It was like, you were ill before. I've never had a psychotic episode in my life. Why would you go on a show with autism? It's like, wow, they casted me and they said they'll support me. Like what? Like, at some point,
because you absolutely can go on a show with autism.
People will put more effort in defending the show than the show will put in defending their actions, because they're not stupid. They know. Do you know what I mean? They know, like, on paper, wow, that's bad. Like, I don't think anyone wanted, like, no one set out for that to happen. But I feel like, if anyone's got common sense of casting someone who's openly disclosed autism to you who asks for like little support needs, and you send them into a stress-induced psychotic episode, I don't think anyone would be like, "Do you know what? Great job, guys." You know what I mean? Wow, you've really looked after that welfare. So yeah,
it's whenever I was younger, my dad used to always say, like, whenever I did something like on accident, he would say, like, it's not an accident, it's carelessness. Like, what they did was careless. Like, they were they had carelessness. They didn't. What did you say that it was what was it? A disability? What? Like assessment?
Assessment, yeah.
Yeah. What does that entail? I haven't even heard of this. I like the sound of it.
They didn't do one.
Yeah, but what would that entail?
Usually, when you employ someone with a disability, you should.
Remember, I'm new to this.
No, I'm pretty sure it's required by law if you hire someone with a disability. You do.
Well, it should be required.
I'm pretty sure it is, yeah.
I'm sure that it's not all over the world, over the workplaces, it's not enforced.
In the UK, I'm pretty sure if you hire someone with a disability, you're meant to do, even if it's brief, a disability assessment. And especially when I was asking for support and things like that.
Yeah. You were asking for support. You told them specifically what you needed.
Yeah.
And they didn't meet those needs. Yeah,
and this is the thing. It's like when you say that, it's like, oh, what are you asking for? Like, I was asking to listen to a bit of music and some chicken nuggets.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not asking for, can I have, a limo? I was asking for the bare minimum.
Yeah. And they make that big of a difference to you, though.
Oh, huge for me. But then, so yeah, I've hit psychosis in this car. Honestly, the story is, when you say it back, it's just kind of wild.
You were so am I understanding it correctly? Like you basically were so confused and so in distress that your brain went into psychosis because of a defense mechanism. Like it didn't know what else to do.
More just kind of like self-imploded.
Wow.
Yeah, like from all of it, just kind of like at some point just self-imploded.
Okay, so this happened in the van, truck, car thing.
I can't pinpoint the exact moment my brain went in psychosis, but looking back, that would be my best kind of guess. What I try to explain to people when you become clinically like, if I don't know if I've used a better word, well, I guess it happened to me, insane, medically and things have no insight, you don't know. Like you think you're fine. Like when you're questioning, like the bit of advice that I give to people that when I talk about psychosis and I get a lot of people like, oh, I think I might be having psychosis. Like, am I going crazy? It's like, if you're asking yourself such questions, am I going crazy? Am I going into psychosis? You're not at that point yet because you've still got that insight to ask yourself these questions. But that's at the point where you need to seek support because it's a weird concept to kind of get your head around. But like once you've gone crazy, you think you're not crazy at all. You think everything's, I'll wholeheartedly have a conversation with you believing I was a wizard 100%. Like there'd be no doubt in my mind. There'd be nothing wavering. So yeah. How
did they respond to you going into psychosis in Spain?
So looking back, they were just like running around like headless chickens, trying to get me medicate. So someone was giving me medication that wasn't actually qualified to give medication, so she was having to call back in the UK telling a doctor my symptoms, and she was giving me medication, which is looking back, it's like, why was that going on?
That sounds illegal.
Oh no, this is my issues because of what happened to me, and I've got all the documents to prove it. I've got all my medical records. I did a data access request.
And that's the reason why they can't say shit.
Yeah, I feel like they know I have every single document of what happened because like you won't really see anyone. I've been saying like these claims, well, they're not claims, but it's like every other person. It's like can you say that? Can you say? Well, of course I can. You can say factual events. Like I've been saying this for years. So I mean, it's like if I was saying the stuff and it didn't happen, I feel like the show would have been like, oh, by the way, no, that's a lie. They can't dispute like anything I'm saying. I've got it all on record. For them, it just became a bit of a pissing match between Love Island and the doctors. So basically, what happened was the doctors were saying it's basically Love Island's fault. Love Island was saying, it was the doctor's fault. No one would take the blame of like what happened because like they weren't admitting they weren't defending that it weren't wrong. They were saying, well, we contracted out these doctors, it's on the doctors, and the doctors were saying it's them. But at the end of the day, the who it's down to, in my belief, and I think it's quite obvious to see, maybe it's not. You employed the doctors. It's down to you. Like at the end of the day, I'm under your care. And if you've employed doctors that haven't worked well, at the end of the day, the book starts with you. If you want to start something with the doctors, that could be that's down to you. But the book starts with Love Island.
Yeah. So what? When I'm trying to think of like what is the terminology of like what's to blame? Like, you know what I mean? Like, what are the doctors saying was done? Like, I want to know if they're saying exactly what was done to you or if they are calling it like general, being vague.
The doctors at one point said you should have known what you were getting yourself in for.
No, the doctor said that.
At one point said that.
It's terrifying.
And they were just very like, this is the problem. Like, I don't believe anyone wanted that to happen, but it was more the stuff after that was worse because it was like everyone just kind of started thinking about their self and, just being manipulative to a person that is literally mentally ill, like thinking they can change the weather and like literally manipulating the fact of how unwell I was.
Like trying to save their own asses?
A million percent. Like this is the problem. So when it comes to well, no, I need to get onto that bit, but so I'll have to fast forward a little bit. Actually, no, wait. So where were we in the car? I'll keep. So we're in the car. I've gone into psychosis. They brought me in to a holding villa. So it's like another villa, and that's where they started giving me loads of medication. So I was on loads of medication. Shout out though, there's a really nice. I had a nice bodyguard, who you know I got on with well. I think he was like not from. I think he was he's separate.
What was his name?
I don't know. I got him on Instagram.
Oh my gosh! Shout out to him.
Shout out to him. He's a good guy.
Aww.
But like I think he was taken back by the situation.
Really?
Looking back, I feel like it might probably, if you were surrounded by just people from the TV network, everyone's probably thinking like, how do we fucking sort this out? But I feel like if you brought someone in that separate into that environment, they're gonna look around and be like, what in the fuck have you done? Like what?
Yeah.
Like what in the fuck?
Like an outside perspective.
And that type of perspective, like maybe it get normalized. You got 10 people thinking the same thing of like how we're going to save our ass. You bring one person in that's completely, not involved in that. They'd be like, what are you doing? Like this is just messed up. Like, so
did you talk to him about it since?
Oh no, when I was since, yeah, I was just messaging like, oh, thank you. And he messaged me like, that like there's some songs that I was singing because at one point I thought I was the best singer in the world whilst I was in the
I think you're a really good singer.
No, I can't. When I was in the villa, I was singing around, right? And I was singing like, I can't remember, I was singing like Gym Class Heroes at one point, and like he just messaged me like, oh, I always think of think of you and think of that song, and he was just kind of like, you should be proud of yourself. That kind of thing.
That makes me want to cry.
Yeah, so I was like, thanks, man. And then
it's really cool.
Yeah. So yeah, he was a cool guy. But to be fair, he was like a close protection person, right? And looking back, I don't want to put emotions on other people that I don't know if they had, but I think like he felt like, I remember having conversations where I was like talking to him, rambling on, but he seemed quite like maybe slightly emotional about it. I don't know. Maybe it touched him a little bit, seeing what I was, I guess, going through, because I think people look at, reality TV and they think like that. But at the end of the day, I was just, a lad that was literally going through a psychotic episode who was from a normal background because he's just been absolutely messed with and had his autistic adjustments, literally thrown to the side.
How long were you kept in the holding villa where they were medicating you and you met that guy?
So I was in the holding villa, I think, for a few days, right? And I've got emails, right, where they were like contemplating, like, can we bring him back in? And all these things like... Shut
the fuck up.
Yeah, I've got like these wild emails.
Can we bring him back into the show?
I feel like at one point it was like, because I'm pretty sure I was Odd's favourite boy to win when I was on it. Yeah.
Well, I remember watching it. Because you weren't like a douchebag, You were really funny and you were very likable.
I was definitely the favourite off my own back, like in the sense of like not in a I wasn't like in a power couple. It was kind of like, as
people were rooting for you.
Me, yeah. Do you know what I mean? They weren't rooting for me as a couple with anyone. It was, they were just rooting for me, which is, again, a nice thing to hear.
That's the only good thing to come out of this.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. And then, so where were we? So I was in that for like 3 days. They basically then had to, they
were trying to...
Love Island wanted to send me on a public plane to a psychiatric hospital, right? And at the time, like, I think I was number 2 or 1 trending it on Twitter. Where's Niall?
Where's Niall?
Yeah.
Because you randomly left the show.
Yeah, so I randomly left. And what I find wild is like...
While they were taking you to a hospital.
People could tell it was sus, right? They could, because I mean, it was...
But the interesting part about it is that people could tell it was sus, but they made it seem like it was something that you did.
Yeah, that's what I mean, which I don't like. This is how manipulative what happened to me was. They basically said I left for personal reasons. One, if I left for personal reasons, I could have said that myself. I could have been like, oh, by the way, I'm leaving personal reasons. And you're not allowed contact with the outside world. So I don't know what personal reasons could have popped up, you know, from anywhere. But what happened was, so they did that, but then they quickly changed it as soon as they got me off to Niall left for medical reasons, which might not make sense to people hearing that now. But the reason for that is if it's a medical issue, the press can't look into it. So they did a quick, it's personal, no, it's medical. You know,
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So what I, looking back, would have preferred is if they just outright and say what it was, say it was medical, like say no, it's a medical issue. Don't say it's personal, because that's coming out of my mouth. It was that's just lying, really, because I mean it wasn't personal, it was a medical issue.
Yeah.
So yeah, so then it became a thing where they wanted to put me on a public plane where everyone in the UK was like, "Where's Niall? Where's this going on?" at the time.
Because it really is like the biggest show.
It was big at the time. It was big, and I basically was. I mean, at one point, you know, I was thinking I was a wizard. I was in this stress-induced psychotic episode, and you're going to put me on a public plane with people that are going to like. It would have been a disaster.
Were you like conscious of the fact that you would have been recognized then? As like,
I don't really think at that point massively had that insight completely. Like, I think I knew, like, I had some wherewithal around that, but again, it would have been too much for me at that time.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
I mean, that in itself is like a whole other super stress inducing event, is like being recognized like that.
So what happened was they had to, and I say this, when I say this, it's not like it in a, you know, luxurious way, because they had to get me a private plane to fly me from Spain to England. And when I say a private plane, it's not like, you know, I wasn't on like a Floyd Mayweather jet.
Nothing about this was luxurious.
No. So it wasn't like a Floyd Mayweather jet, but because of a private plane from Spain to England's like, it's like flying in a washing machine. Like, it's tiny. It's just a tiny plane. It's not like it's a private, just small plane.
Okay, I see what you mean.
It's a tiny journey. They then basically, I ended up going into the back door of a psychiatric hospital and told I couldn't leave.
From the plane?
Yes.
They took you from Spain?
Yeah, to the UK, to then drove me to a psychiatric hospital, to then, you know, close the door, you know.
They left you there?
Yeah.
They just dumped you off at a psychiatric hospital?
Yeah, no, so my mum came to visit me, yeah. Like, my mum ended up, like, coming to, like, visit me and things like that.
But how long did you have to stay there? Like, what?
Well,
I mean, there's so many
This was the thing, right? So I never got sectioned.
What's that mean?
In British English, sectioned means having been committed compulsorily to a psychiatric hospital in accordance with the section of a Mental Health Act.
And they can do that for, like, I guess, till they think whatever. But what happened was, because when I was in psychosis, I wasn't like violent, I wasn't aggressive, I wasn't anything. I mean, I tried kicking the door down when I first got there, but I mean, I think that's a normal reaction to what happened. They said to me, like, look, Niall, if you're good and behave, these are doctors now, and you're not going to get sectioned. You can be voluntary here, but you're voluntary here. We're going to have you down as voluntary, but if you try to leave, we will then section you.
So that is not voluntary.
But on like a record, it's like they gave me the option, like, do you want to stay here and be voluntary here? And I was like, okay, yeah. And then, because then it will go on my record that I've been sectioned and things like that. And then they just become like, I mean, I'm glad.
So it makes you look like cooperative, like.
Yeah, I'm just glad. I mean, being sectioned, I think, can like have implications on like different things in your life, like on your records and things like that. So I'm glad that I didn't. So I just voluntary stayed there.
Okay, I get what you mean.
So yeah, otherwise it'd been like on my records that I was sectioned, which they basically gave me the opportunity. Like, look, no, you're not aggressive, you're not this. If you stay, we're not going to put it down. You got sectioned. You know, just stay here with us. So I ended up just staying at the hostel. I mean, the thing is,
it's still just like so fucked up.
Oh no, 100%. And what was worse, because everyone like at the time was like wondering where I was and recognizing me, I wasn't allowed out. Like, I wasn't allowed, like, other people in the hostel were allowed to, like, go on, like, walks, like, outside, around, things like that. I wasn't allowed. I was only allowed to, you know, and I couldn't question it either because I mean I was clinically insane. I didn't know what was going on. You know, I thought, you know, everyone was out to get me and this. So yeah, I wasn't allowed out, you know, for a walk. I was just in there, just, you know, got very like, cabin fevery. It was just.
How long were you in there?
2 weeks. I was in there 2 weeks. They wanted to keep me longer. To be honestly, I probably should have stayed longer looking back, but I wasn't in the right frame of mind. I wasn't in the right frame of mind after I left for a long time. I just kind of got used to what they wanted to hear me say a bit, like to get out. Because I remember like they'd come, the nurse would come in with a little check sheet and be like, so Niall, you know, how are you today? You know, it's like, and they'd have to, kind of awkward for the nurses. They'd have to mark it in front of you. So they were like, oh, why do you think you're here? And then that would always change me day to day because I was trying to think of like crazy theories, and I'd be like, I know why I'm here. Wink, wink to the nurse. Yeah, we know. And they're like, no, Niall, you know, you're in the hospital. Why, you know? And I was like, yeah. It's like, see the winking, Niall, you know, I'm going to have to give you like a 4 and can't give you a 1. And then I was like, why are you giving me a 4? I was like, and then, yeah, so I was there for like 2 weeks just of.
And then you figured out like, you wanted to get out of there, understandably.
I was still like I remember the first agent I signed with after the show. One I know was like mates with Love Island and things like that because they really pushed me to the show. They were like, "Oh, he's great. Here's the list. Go with him. This is this." And but I signed up with him because I thought he could change the weather. So that was the frame of mind I was in. And when it comes to like what I find hard, so when it comes to autism and that because I was diagnosed so young, only people that knew about my autism diagnosis and that I was autistic would be people on like a need to know basis. So, you know, the teachers in school, my family and things like that. It wasn't something that I told my friends.
So when did you get diagnosed?
I was like 7 when I got diagnosed. So it was like all I knew. But then I grew up. When I grew up, like I'd see like the stigmas around it, and I didn't want people thinking that about me, and I was quite conscious of it. And it was just like
it's like autistic shame.
I guess that's what I felt. I mean, in myself a lot of the time, growing up, and I didn't, you know, seeing how other people would say things and that. So I just kind of didn't want people knowing. So I, you know, became a need to know basis between the school, but you know, I wouldn't tell my friends, things like that. But what happened was, when I was in the psychiatric hospital, the only conclusion that I could come to, I didn't know what psychosis was. I didn't know any of this. I thought, wow, what could this be? Oh, it's got to be something to do with my autism, you know?
Like you thought that the psychosis was
like something to do with my autism.
Yeah, because you didn't
but
really know.
That was the only thing that I could logically in my head at that time come to the conclusion of.
Because you had so much experience with autistic shame too that you didn't even understand your autism yourself, maybe?
The thing is, it's like I had no rational in my thinking at that time. Like there wasn't, you know, I thought that, but you know, 5 minutes before, I thought that people were, you know, trying to smuggle me gold.
Well, it makes sense to me, though, because, like, you know, it's something that you just have been told that you're autistic, and you don't really know anything. Like, they just kind of give you a label, and then they don't really tell you, like, what it is. And, you know, it's hard to understand it. So I could see myself coming to the same conclusion, you know, if I was in your shoes.
All that I could get to, So what happened was I wasn't on my phone because I was clinically insane at the point. What I did was I had like a piece of paper and I got a pen and wrote down this really elaborate paragraph or a post about like, hi guys, you know, I've shed my scales. I've, you know, finally realized the true me, and like all these like these, you know, imaginative things about my autism, and this is what it is, and oh, finally, you know, this is the reason, and very like that, grandiose. Writ that, and what happened was after I got back my phone, I sent that into Love Island, and I was like, this is what I'm thinking about posting. They ended up being, they'd be like, oh yeah, that's good, like put like, what about, and I think that added like another sentence on it about like thank you ITV for supporting me.
Shut the fuck up.
Yeah, wild.
Of course they did.
They love that, right? And then it was that's what it was just very that was the very mindset of it.
That's so like disheartening, you know? It's like, God, it really, like people, they really are that selfish.
Yeah, right. So I ended up telling, the nation, about my autism. So I went from like my friends not knowing to I've literally just told everyone that was the headspace I was in. So then it was like, it was like, it was just a lot to kind of like, deal with, because I was on like loads of so much medications at the time. I was then having to withdraw off the medication at the time. Now everyone knows that about my autism diagnosis. It was probably a good job I was like insane at the time to deal with it. I don't think it's something you could deal with if you were of a normal headspace, because it
sounds very, very difficult.
Yeah, it was just an absolute trip, really. So I just kind of I don't know, just kind of went through it in this kind of like.
It sounds like that's the kind of stuff that like kills people. Like,
it was 100%. It was 100% emotional abuse. Like, there's no getting away from that. There's no other way. Like, I had to go to like therapy for like PTSD from it. And, like, people might laugh and think about that, but like that, it is like coming off a reality TV show is hard, right? Enough. Like, people, it is a hard thing to do, right?
I know, and nobody takes that sentence seriously.
Yeah, having a psychotic episode is a very hard thing. I'm not comparing the two, but I'd lean towards the psychotic episode. But I mean, people don't realize that it is very, very hard coming off a reality TV show just in and of itself. Having it both at the exact same time, and then having to deal with everything that goes with both things, is just a cocktail that is just indescribable to. And I'm not saying I'm glad it happened to me, because I'm not. I wouldn't wish it on worst enemy, but I feel like there's a lot of people that I feel like if it happened to them, they would not have been able to handle it like at all. And I hope wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy, but it was just I feel like that both of them things are sometimes too much for people, and having it all at once. I think.
Oh my God, no, that's like, you're a fucking warrior.
Yeah.
Because that's honestly very, it makes me like, I would be the person who could not handle that.
I feel like there's a lot of people, I get that, I tell them the story, and it's just telling that story's freaking me out, and like actually going for it. But again, I feel like, one of the reasons I was able to go through it was because I was literally clinically insane. And
I think that something that you said that, or that we discussed about this, that, the first time in my existence, I've ever been like, okay, you're right about it, about women being at the advantage here. Like, a woman, they would never put a woman through this. They would never put me through, like, no one would ever put me through what they put you through, because they figured that you could handle it way better than, but that, I mean, it's an insult to me as a woman, them saying, oh, like a woman couldn't handle that. But at the same time, like, I wouldn't want to handle that.
I feel it's more of a question of, I feel like if you're going through it, it's happened, you're going to have to go through it, if that makes sense. I feel it'd be more the perception of, like, with men's mental health, of the kind of, like, you're a strong man, you get through that. But I feel like if it was a woman, and
they wouldn't want to derange a woman like that.
If it came out and it was like they hospitalized an autistic woman that was open with that, and they drove her into a psychotic episode and led her into a hospital and covered the whole thing up, I feel the perception would be more of an outrage.
You experience all of this. How are you where you are now? Because now I see you on Instagram educating people about psychosis. And I mean, you've taught me so much about it just by sharing your story with me, and a different perspective on it, because I knew nothing about psychosis before. And I think that you're doing a lot of good out there, and it doesn't go unnoticed. But how did you get to that point?
I appreciate that for starts. So for me, it took me a long time to get to that place in my life where I could, I guess, openly talk about psychosis, which was like huge, because I feel like it could be kind of triggering for people. Again, I want people, it's not awkward, but for me, I know there's a lot of people out there that have had psychotic episodes, and they're not in this situation where they feel they can talk about it because it is so triggering. And, you know, I get people like, when can I be like at that stage? But my thing is like, look, it just literally takes time. And I wouldn't compare your journey with someone else's. But for me, I guess I've been in a situation where I've never been able to avoid my triggers. Like I've never been able to do that. Like in sense, like, you know, I've essentially got known for what hospitalized me and with my psychotic episode, you know? So it's like people know me for the reason that I'm mentally ill, you know, from what happened, which I've never been able to kind of, I can't escape that. So I guess I've always had to like, you know, face that, and eventually, you know, it just became so much, so I was like, okay, I got used to it. And then I feel better talking about psychosis and like doing videos about it now, but like I'll be like, there were times where when I first started doing it, it was awful, like trying to like talk about that. It's just like, it was so hard. And like I have like breaks from social media like sometimes, because it's like, you know, my social media is a permanent reminder of, again, like it's my best outlet, it's my best way to get, like, it's the best thing for me. But again, you know, it's a reminder of what happened. And I think people don't really, a lot of times, don't understand the kind of the idea around permanence of what happened to me. I think people think it's like something you just you know, you get over, but it's something that you learn to manage, and it's not something you learn to get over. So it's something that I'll always be aware of. And I feel like when you're dealing with things like psychotic episodes, you don't want to just forget about it, because that's how you can, you know, maybe hopefully not, but end up maybe having another one by like being not aware of your triggers and things like that. But yeah, it just took me a long time to get to that place where I now openly try and like talk about it on social media, like do videos around it. But again, just like everything with social media, you know, around people's lifestyles, even when me talk about mental health, like sometimes I'll do a video like, Jesus Christ, I wish I could take my own advice. You know, I'm someone that I've always been someone that's never, I guess if you talk to me, I'll never lie really about, like, I guess, things like that. It's like, yeah, I'm not trying to create a false impression of how I am. Like, I have good days, bad days, especially with mental illness. It's what I find hard is I think there's and I don't know why it is. There seems to be such like a thing where people think mental health and mental illness are like the same thing. And it's not a bad thing to say they're not, because they are just different things in the sense of like every person on planet Earth has mental health. It's the same as your physical health. Everyone has physical health, but it's the same as, you know, not everyone has, you know, a physical illness or a mental illness. But it's just hard for me, because sometimes I feel like I'm trying to advocate for, you know, a different part for people, where it's like I'll try and talk about like OCD, psychotic episodes, you know, and just things that aren't talked about as much. But I feel like sometimes it gets grouped into like a big like umbrella, like, you know, yoga isn't going to fix someone from a manic episode, you know. That's not going to work. And I feel like,
yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah, and I feel like there's so much confusion in today's day and age that for some reason, if you say out loud like mental health, mental illness are different, like I don't know, you say it's like, is that offensive? Like, no, of course it's not. But like, there's so much confusion between the two, and there's not between physical health, you know, physical illness. But
yeah. So would you say, to help me understand and maybe other people understand, so mental illness is disorders, where like what's how would you define the difference?
Well, there's I think one, it's like, I think it's important to remember I'm not a
yeah, I know, but it's just your opinion.
I know, but I try to always be that wouldn't be an opinion. That would be, like I said, that'd be talking about facts in terms of what's a mental illness and things like that. I always try.
What your opinion on the differences?
No.
Okay, sorry.
No, because I always try and be like factually, I mean, correct. If I'm going to sometimes too much, but I should just kind of say whatever.
I think that's good. That's good to bring that to the conversation.
Yeah, but I know, like, obviously,
because I would just Google it anyway.
No, I know there is a difference. I'm pretty sure between a disorder and an illness. And I've got both. I've had like
Clementine has something Googled.
While mental health refers to anyone's state of mental, emotional well-being, mental illnesses are diagnosed conditions that affect thoughts and behaviors.
Okay. Absolutely, yeah. And I I agree with like what you're doing and like what you're talking about are like the steps to deal with like mental illnesses. And it's like a lot more than like you're saying doing yoga or people will say go get out more, you know? And it's like, what?
It's management with like mental illness. It's like, I think sometimes the biggest step is just realizing like it's not something that's just like, you know, just goes away. It's just something that you need to learn to like manage like in the best of like your ability. But that's what I try and get out there to people. But it's like, you know, I'll get people like you know, try and I'll had loads of people being like, oh no, psychosis is it's a spiritual awakening. You know, your third eye is open. You can see.
No, because I've had that spiritual awakening, and I can tell you right now, I did not think like I was a wizard. I did not think I could fly. There was nothing like that. The spiritual awakening is what it is it's an earth shattering it shatters your reality. That's what it is, and that it gives you a feeling of fucking euphoria and freak out, panic, and all of these different things that if you've never experienced anything like that before, so maybe people could associate that as a psychotic episode because you start to question everything like, is this water bottle real? Like, oh my God, like, is everything fake? But that's not a psychotic episode. No, completely different. That's like your reality check.
I think people as well need to remember when you're talking to people, when it comes to like mental illness and things like that, like just how triggering just little things that you can say can be, like saying to someone mental illness, oh no, you're not mentally ill, you know, you just sort of
your third eye's open.
Yeah, you can see clearly now, like, oh, wow. Like if I was, you know, like not as better, I guess, essentially as I am now, you know, you'd be like, oh really? Like, oh yeah, like perfect. You drive someone into another psychotic episode. It's just like people are like quite maybe it's down to like people aren't educated well enough around it, but there's definitely like just people I don't think understand the consequences of some of the things that they say. Yeah,
it's really what it comes down to is the audacity some people have to talk about things that they don't know anything about.
Yeah.
It really pisses me off because it's so damaging.
100%. Yeah.
And they just don't even realize it. So Niall, we've spent the last few days together. I have a bit of information I've been withholding from you.
Okay.
I'm pregnant. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, that is not funny.
What is your favorite color?
Purple.
I learned some cool stuff about purple.
What have you learned?
Yeah, purple was a rare color back in the day because they didn't have it in nature, really. They didn't have the pigment to make purple things. And then they discovered they could get the pigment from these snails. And the pigment was like reddish purple, but it took a lot of these snails to get the pigment. And so it was like elite. It was like considered royal or expensive, you know, rare. What do you call that? I don't know. Hard to get. Fashion. Yeah, sure. High fashion. There you go. And then royalty picked it up. So in England, they were wearing purple. Basically, it was just a rare color because they couldn't make the pigment easily. So people were really defensive over purple, though, too, because it was considered an elite color. People were getting killed over it because they were wearing purple when they shouldn't have been. I mean, seems dramatic. So
there's death associated with my favorite color. Wow. Learn something new every day.
You know, I'm glad that but here's the thing, though. That shows that you're not very egotistical. Yeah, because you saw you saw that as a bad thing, not as like oh yeah, purple's the best. People are dying over it.
Oh no.
You know, that was good.
Oh, I'm glad. That.
Faith in men.
Faith in men, gee.
Niall, the internet has your birthday wrong.
I know.
You're going to want to reach out to the internet.
What the fuck does it say your birthday is?
It says July 13th.
Why?
I don't know where anyone got it from. They just made it up.
Are you serious?
It says 1995, July 13th.
They just got it wrong, yeah.
When is your birthday?
14th September.
What year?
94.
Wow, they even got the year wrong. Jesus Christ.
That's really bizarre.
Dear internet, please fix.
I don't know.
Seriously.
I'm cool with it. It's fine.
A call to action. Niall, thank you so much for coming and doing this. Thank you for flying all the way here to be on my podcast.
Yep.
No, but seriously, thank you. I mean, you spent this whole time talking about this stuff. I know it can be triggering. So I really appreciate you. And tell me whatever you want to do to relieve your stress for the rest of the day, and we can do that. I feel terrible. But no, because it's really what you're doing is very selfless to be putting all this information out there whenever it is hard for like you to do. I know like it's consuming.
Oh yeah, 100%. I think no, I appreciate that. Just quickly going back, for me it's hard because I feel like I've never had a choice in it. It's not something I've really kind of actively set out to do, but you know, I'm glad hopefully people can get something out of it.
It's kind of like your autism diagnosis. But where can people find you? What are your plugs? What do you want to tell people?
Well, follow me on TikTok, Instagram. It's the same. It's just Niall Aslam, you know, my name. NIALLASLAM. Wow.
Jesus. I got it.
Good stuff.
Yeah, follow him.
Mental health content, you know, enjoy it. Yeah.
And he's hot.
Thanks, Demi.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it.
Thanks for listening to this week's DemiGoddess. You better give us a 5-star rating and review if you know what's good for you. Just kidding. But please, be sure to tell your friends. You can follow me at Demi_not_Lovato on Instagram and at DEMLIA on TikTok. DemiGoddess is available on all podcast platforms, or you can watch this full episode on our Eve YouTube channel. Seriously, it's so fun to watch. I'm so vain. So rate, review, and subscribe. Bye!
DemiGoddess is part of the Eve Podcast Network and a Forever Dog production. Executive producer Tracy Soren, producer and editor Clementine Yost, development executive Mariah Nickolas, engineer Margot Padilla, theme song by Gabe Lopez, cover photo by Saias. Forever Dog Productions is Joe Cilio, Alex Ramsey, and Brett Boham.